I'm good, we'll leave you over. You're good, you're good, you're good. I just want to let the hair down. Yeah, no, I just want to. What? That's why I love it. Folks, if anybody's here for the public hearing, on GMA 202-401, have you not signed up, or anybody here for public comment? Everybody, you're on there, right? As long as your name's on here, we're good to go. And I assume they don't have to.
There's your man, man. Get a little high mileage, you can get a rough one off less than quick. I want to hear all this, so don't think I'll do it.
Okay. Every year, I think about it. Got some bourbon in that bottle. You want some? Yeah. Oh, yeah.
this time. It is 6 o'clock. We're going to go ahead and start the meeting. Tonight, our invocation will be done by Commissioner Robert Way, Pledge of Allegiance by Commissioner M. Albright. Commissioner Way.
Most gracious Lord God, we come to you this evening and ask for your blessings. Lord, please be with us, help us, and guide us as we discuss things in our community. Lord, please be with those in our community that need your uplifting hand. Also, Lord, please be with those in the world, as right now we are in amongst a bunch of turmoil that we've never seen in a long time. So in your most holy name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, we'll move to item 3, City Clerk roll call, please.
Commissioner Way.
Present.
Commissioner Gleason. Commissioner Wilkins.
Present.
Commissioner Albright.
here.
Mayor Pro Tem Kaczynski.
Present.
Mayor Wheeler.
Here.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. We do have a quorum. We'll move to approval of agenda. Is there any additions or deletions that need to be recognized?
Make a motion, we accept the agenda.
All right, as presented?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, did you want to do anything?
Yes.
Now is
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to take item 5A off the consent agenda and move it down to a discussion under old business or,
we can do
old
it.
business.
We will make 5A down to 9B. All right, any other changes? And Commissioner Gleason, I apologize for that, but I knew we had a change coming. I want to make sure we did it in the right spot. All right, not hearing any. All those in favor of the agenda with the one addition of removing 5A out of the consent agenda. Motion was made by Commissioner Gleason. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion carries 5-0. All right. I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
Motion is made by the Mayor Pro Tem. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries 5-0. Let's see, we move down now to introduction, recognition, and presentations. Item 6A, recognize graduates of the CREEDMOOR Police Department's 2024 Citizens Police Academy. Chief Wheelers.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the board. Thank you for allowing us once again to come and recognize some people that have taken the time to come and learn more about the police department. Thank you to you all for your support, your continued support for attending our events. I think since I've been here, we've tried to show those that we serve our commitment to them in different ways. And one of the most important ways that I feel we can do that is by allowing them to come in to build relationships with our officers and to see what we do every day. My goal going into this was to not be around as much and for them to get to meet the police officer work at the CREEDMOOR Police Department, and for them to actually get to meet them personally and build relationships with them. So I want to thank officers that taught. They came on Thursdays when they didn't have to, volunteered to teach their respective subjects, and I think it meant a lot to our class here, but especially Jessica, which I'm going to bring her up here in just a second, because I gave her an idea and she ran with it and she hit an absolute home run with it. So instead of me standing up here, I'm going to have Jessica come up and recognize her.
Good afternoon. We started this project the 1st of March, running from March the 7th to April 25th. 8 weeks, we had 15, I call them cadets, basically for about 2 hours every Thursday night. We became a small family in those couple weeks. So, the ones that are here, they'll please step forward. Check them out. We're missing a few tonight. So the Academy is a way for these men and women to meet local law enforcement. The roles of police officers, investigators, and administration. How to learn how to be trained. Every citizen can help protect themselves and their community against crime. An important and exciting phase of the Academy is providing participants with the opportunity to leave the classroom and participate in many of the practical exercises. I think the practical exercises were probably their favorite. But I want to tell y'all, thank y'all, and we look forward to this program again in the spring. Thank y'all.
They're ready for the work, they got shirts.
Jewelry.
Reserves.
She doesn't like to do that. All right, we move to 6B, introduction of city county shared grant writer. Mr. City Manager.
Mr. Mayor, members of the board, it's my pleasure this evening to introduce to you Jamie Oxendine. Jamie was selected as Granville County's first grant writer and began work on April the 1st. He brings 13 years of experience in grant writing to his new role, both as a private consultant and as a tribal administrator and executive director of the Indian Tribe in Hollister, North Carolina, the executive director of the Black Swamp Intertribal Foundation in Ohio. Jamie has experience with federal, state, private foundation grants from agencies like the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, the U.S. Department of Treasury, the North Carolina Department of Health and Human Services, and the Blue Cross Blue Shield Foundation, the National Endowment for the Humanities, and the National Congress of American Indians. Oxendine has extensive experience as an educator, working with Ohio University Office of Diversity and Inclusion, and with Toledo, Ohio Public School District. Granville County and the city of CREEDMOOR have partnered to make this grant writer position possible, with Jamie serving as a full-time Granville County employee, but devoting 50% of his time to pursuing grants at the direction of the city of CREEDMOOR. And you know the gentleman with him, of course, because he used to be our clerk, Terry Hobgood. Nice to have Terry back. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Jamie Oxendine. Jamie, can you tell us a few words?
Good evening. Thank you.
Good evening.
I'm honored to be a part of both Granville and CREEDMOOR. I'm happy to say that my first grant for Granville County was signed today by Drew, our county manager, and I've already started working on the parts of the law enforcement equipment that you needed. The chief has informed me that your radios and other communications will be antiquated by January, so I already reached out to Motorola for their grant to replace those. So I'm already into getting my feet very, very wet.
Is there any questions for our grant writer?
Thank you very much.
Thank you. We're very glad to
Thank you very much.
Thank you. We hope it is very economically beneficial to all of us.
And listen to everything Terry says.
Okay. I will definitely do that.
Thank you, sir. Nice to meet you. All right. Let's see. There's that. You have Public Works proclamation.
You got, when you come around,
Okay.
give it to me.
All right, let's see, item 6C, Public Works Week proclamation. Ms. Evans. I want to show all y'all how much my staff appreciates my age. If you'll look at that, half of it on that road is reading. I'll still get some of it wrong. All right, Proclamation Public Works Week, May 19th to the 24th, 2024. Whereas public works infrastructure, facilities, and services are of vital importance to sustainable communities and the health, safety, and well-being of the people of the city of Creedmoor, North Carolina. And whereas these infrastructure, facilities, and services could not be provided without the dedicated efforts of public works professionals, engineers, managers, and employees from state and local government and the private sector who are responsible for and who plan, design, build, operate, and maintain the transportation, water supply, water treatment, public buildings, structures, and facilities, and who deliver solid waste services, transit, and fleet services, which are essential to serve our citizens. And whereas it is in the public interest for the citizens, civic leaders, and children in the city of Creedmoor to gain knowledge of and to maintain an interest and understanding of the importance of public works and public work programs in their respective communities. And whereas the year 2024 marks the 64th annual National Public Works Week, sponsored by the American Public Works Association, be it now resolved, I, Robert Wheeler, Mayor of the City of Creedmoor, do hereby proclaim May 19th to the 25th, 2024 as National Public Works Week. I urge all citizens to join with representatives of the American Public Works Association and government agencies in activities, events, and ceremonies designed to pay tribute to our public works professionals, engineers, managers, and employees, and to recognize the substantial contributions they make to protecting our national health, safety, and advancing quality of life for all. In testimony hereof, I have hereunto set my hand and cause to be affixed the seal of the city of Creedmoor, the 7th day of May, 2024.
Thank you.
And we'll do this so you can get a picture in here.
On behalf of my team, thank you all for supporting us. And come to our open house 2 weeks from tomorrow from 11 to 2. I've got our shop on Gresham. We're cooking and welcome to y'all to come.
Steve, on behalf of the Board of Sisters Mayor's Office, thank you and your staff for all you do for us. We would not run as smoothly if we do without you around.
Yes, sir. On behalf of my team, thank y'all for supporting us. It's a privilege to work for the public area of Creedmoor.
Thank you.
It's not really like work, it's just fun.
All right, now I have another proclamation that is really not on our agenda. City Clerk, if you would join me up here, please. This is a proclamation recognizing May 5th through May 11th, 2024 as Professional Municipal Clerks Week. Whereas the Office of the Professional Municipal Clerk, a time-honored and vital part of local government, exists throughout the world, and whereas the position of clerk, one of the oldest in local government, continues to be essential as the official record keepers of their municipalities, and whereas the role of the clerk to the Board of City Commissioners is crucial for maintaining an informed community and facilitating effective local government through communication among citizens and governing bodies, and whereas municipal clerks have pledged to be ever mindful of their neutrality and impartiality, rendering equal services to all, and whereas North Carolina General Statute 160A-171 requires every municipal government to appoint a clerk to perform any duties that may be required by law or the Board of the City of Commissioners, including but not limited to the protection of local government records, which are vital for accountability and transparency, and whereas it is the most appropriate that we recognize the accomplishments of the Office of the Professional Municipal Clerk, and Now therefore be it proclaimed that as mayor and on behalf of the city of CREEDMOOR, I do hereby recognize the week of May 5th, May 11th, 2024 as Professional Municipal Clerks Week, and further extend appreciation to our certified professional clerk, Barbara Rouse, for her public service and her tireless dedication to the preservation of records for the city of CREEDMOOR.
Thank you.
It's hard to do proclamations without Barbara knowing who she has the proclamation.
Did not know how this happened, but it was fun.
All right. At this time, I would ask, Ms. Keisha Bruce-Meyer Brown to join me up there, please. Are you going to claim what you want?
You, sir.
All right. Proclamation honoring Keisha Bruce-Meyer Brown. Whereas Keisha Bruce-Meyer Brown stands among the exclusive group of individuals numbering only 17,000 worldwide who have conquered the 6 world major marathons. As an elite world major marathoner, she embodies resilience and determination both on and off the race course. And whereas Keisha is a native of North Carolina, she graduated from North Carolina A&T State University with a Bachelor of Science in Marketing and a Master of Business Administration from the University of Phoenix. And whereas professionally, Keisha boasts a rich background in the corporate and public sectors, currently excelling as the Smart Collaboration Manager for Partner Sales at Lenovo. She orchestrates strategic partnerships and elevates collaboration initiatives. Her tenure at Lenovo follows successful roles. Such as implementation project manager at Allscripts Healthcare and online experience transformation program manager at Dell Technology, where she led transformative projects and optimized solutions. Whereas beyond corporate achievement, she served as the former CREEDMOOR Commissioner and Mayor Pro Tem, demonstrating exceptional leadership in city management and long-range planning. Her dedication to public service extended to involvement with the Carter Regional Council of Government Board of Directors, addressing critical issues in collaboration with local government leaders. And whereas passionate about fitness and wellness, Keisha advocates for personal well-being, inspired by her own journey with sarcoidosis. Close enough. Keisha was introduced to Black Girls Run in 2010. She found strength and community in running, eventually completing all 6 Abbott World Major Marathons in Chicago, New York, Berlin, Boston, Tokyo, and London, while raising over $18,000 for each race in support of organizations like New York Roadrunners, Team for Kids, American Cancer Society, Help AIDS Sports Legacy, and Smile Train. Her commitment to philanthropy reflects her desire to make differences beyond the race course. And whereas Keisha's dedication to fitness and community transcends for personal achievements, she initiated the CREEDMOOR Cruisers, a beginner walk-run group, which seamlessly transitioned to a virtual strength training boot camp amidst the challenges of COVID-19. This initiative, thriving for 4 years, underscores Keisha's leadership and commitment to fostering a supportive and healthy community environment. Now, therefore, I, Robert Lee Wheeler, Mayor of the City of CREEDMOOR, do hereby recognize and commend Keisha Bruce-Meyer Brown on her outstanding achievement and her continued dedication to our community. Thank you.
No, Mr. Whereas.
Okay, let's see. All right, that's 6D. All right, we don't have anybody for request to address the board. All right, we move on to item 8, public comment. I believe the one that we have is Mr. Adepa.
Mayor for, and the city board for,
Mr. Adepa, if you'll identify yourself, give your address, and you have 3 minutes.
I'm Amor Adepa. I live in 514 Lake Road here in CREEDMOOR, and I'll make it quick as the mayor said. Thank you, Mayor. As more than 25 years of citizens of CREEDMOOR, law-abiding taxpayer, more than 25 years I live in this city. Did you notice the other day I came here and looked for the meeting schedule and everything? I cannot park. There's nowhere to park. All the police are parked everywhere, even on the visiting. And I'm going to Officer Willis is here because I want him to hear. So I said to him, where will we park? When they told me, you can park in the street. I should not be parking in the street if I have a business in the city, I said. So we bought the house from late Billy Hicks, and I think the one in the fire department. I thought that's we're gonna make a parking lot for visitors or something, but I don't see it. So I just want to say that, Mayor, that's just my view. And one last thing, and I will finish it. During the time of the Officer U.D. Hicks and the other police officers that live in Highway 15, they are all retired. I go to Food Lion every day and Family Dollar because I came from work. I go to Pedro's TO box. I meet people, like mayor, former mayor and everything. The police officer Willis, not you. You smile at me all the time. There's no smile at that. Good morning. Look, that's why you connect to the community. That's why you get trouble in America because they get so snobbish. They're walking like, I said, hello, but not you. You always with me. So I told them, when UD is here and the two officers, I can hug them. And I'm not saying hugging me every day. They're busy. But I look at it, there's no smile. I don't talk at all. So, but anyway, Mayor, I will end my speech. All I know is I thought you're going to build a parking spot on this land of the boat. I don't see it. Maybe I just don't know. But I should not be parking in the street if I have a business in the city hall. I should be able to park within the city hall premise, and I respect your service. So we respect some of the officers. For me, that's not and they should serve the community because I don't, the police have to serve the community, not to serve them. Not you. Thank you, Mayor. Commissioner, thank you.
Thank you, sir. All right, let's see, that's public comment. We move to old business. We have 9A. North Carolina DOT Division 5 Engineer Brandon Jones. Mr. Jones, if you will identify yourself, give us an address and the place you work, and then the floor is yours.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, Mayor, Commissioners. I'm Brandon Jones with the North Carolina Department of Transportation. I reside at 4725 Sandy Bay Circle, Raleigh, North Carolina. Wake County native. It's been a pleasure to serve Wake County and the surrounding counties in Division 5 in my career. I believe I was asked to come tonight to address a few very specific questions, but before I get to those questions, I would like to introduce Tracy Parrott. Tracy's my Deputy Division Engineer, and we work together to help serve the 7 counties that make up Division 5. Tracy's a Granville County native and resides in Granville County. So with that, I'll just get into the questions that were asked to discuss tonight and some feedback on those questions. One was the requirements and cost to install a rapid reflective flashing beacon at a Sotheby's subdivision for crosswalk protection. That is NC 56 east of Creedmoor. We work with municipalities quite often to allow encroachment agreements, so the municipality would install and maintain those. The cost of those are around $15,000 each. John Sandor, I don't believe is here, he's our district engineer, and he's typically the main point of contact in working through those type of issues. Another question concerned NC 56 at San Moss Hayes Road, with a couple of different developments that are coming into the picture, the Brames Crossing subdivision and Maury Lane, I hope I pronounced that right, subdivision. The question is installing a stop or flashing light at 56 and Moss Hayes Road. So Brames Crossing is not being required to install a signal. It has full approval to proceed with access. Maury Lane subdivision, however, will be required to do a TIA and study that intersection. A TIA is a traffic impact analysis. So quite often subdivisions are required to perform those to see what impacts they have on surrounding roadway network and hopefully mitigate those impacts. Next, I believe I've addressed this in a previous email, but it's dealing with the left turn signal needed at the intersection of NC 56 at Hawley School Road. The turn lane's installed, but the light was not working, was the feedback we got. Back in October of 2023, our traffic engineering department reviewed that signal during school hours, peak hours in the AM and peak hours in the PM periods. Based on the field evaluation, we did adjust timing to the side streets, so the Hawley School and the school side, during both peak periods. We adjusted the timing of the signal. So the eastbound approach to that intersection does have a protected left turn arrow, but it's not typical. Typically, you see the left turn arrows activate as the first phase of a signal. In this case, you get a green first, and only if traffic backs up to not allow the left turns will the protected left turn arrow activate. They did evaluate that when they looked at the signal back in October and saw that that was working properly. There's little queuing of vehicles in the westbound direction, so we didn't feel like there's a need for any type of protection in the westbound direction at the time. Another question is an option to allow northbound truck traffic on Main Street to continue from the intersection of 56, 215 north of Creedmoor. Right now, if you're coming up through town, you've got to avoid that area, turn left, get back on 15 and head north. So is there a roadway weight limit for trucks on this section of roadway? It is posted for weight limit, and is also posted for no through trucks. That doesn't mean a truck can't go and make a needed delivery, but typically what you're trying to avoid there is just continual truck traffic through that area. For any change to that, I would really need some more information as to why the request would be made to allow through trucks, as it then becomes a burden on the pavement structure. The more through trucks that you have on that section, and that becomes a maintenance problem for us. But we can have that discussion if we need to, if the town feels strongly about reconsidering that section of roadway. Be glad to have that discussion. And that starts again with our district engineer, John Sandor. The last question is the status of structural integrity condition of Lake Rogers Bridge on Highway 56. And is there a timeline for the bridge replacement of this bridge? So there's no project we have in place right now to replace that bridge. We have, every 2 years, we're required by federal government to do a thorough bridge inspection. So every 2 years, all of our bridges and large culverts get inspected. We inspect a lot of different assets on the bridges, like the bridge deck, the substructure, the superstructure, things like that. And we give it what's called a sufficiency rating. The sufficiency rating for the Lake Rogers Bridge is 51.31. You're not typically considered in competition for federal funds for bridge replacements unless you drop below the 50 in sufficiency ratings. So this bridge right now is not being considered for replacement in our current timeline, which is our current about 5 or 6 year plan. It is a posted bridge, which means it's limited to how many tons can be on the bridge at one time for single vehicles and tractor trailers. The structurally deficient, just kind of provide a definition of what that means, because people hear that and they jump to all kinds of conclusions, but Structurally deficient doesn't mean the bridge has got a lot of different issues, but it could have a poor condition, or it has insufficient load carrying capacity in one form or fashion. But we can have sufficiency ratings down into the single digits. It's not too uncommon for that. Most of those bridges are on some type of replacement schedule. A bridge can also be considered what we call functionally obsolete, which Lake Rogers Bridge is considered functionally obsolete, which means it's kind of the footprint of the bridge, the roadway portion, has met its useful life. We know that it'd be nice to have that bridge widened, and when it would be replaced, I'm sure we'll have a wider footprint to avoid being functionally obsolete. But we do in the Granville County area over the next several years have bridge replacements. Ed Harris Road over Tabbs Creek in our fiscal year 25, just for comparison, that has a sufficiency rating of about 20. West Tom Parham Road over Tabbs Creek has a sufficiency rating of a little bit under 44. Flat Rock Road at Ford Creek, sufficiency rating of 26.83, that's fiscal year 26. Graham Hodgood Road over the North Fork Tar River, it's a sufficiency rating under 20, a little bit over 19. That's also a fiscal year 26 replacement schedule. And Belltown Road over the Tar River, fiscal year 2029 replacement schedule that has a sufficiency rating for 46.6. You can kind of see the comparison of where Lake Rogers is today. Besides being functionally obsolete, it's not quite at the point where we're considering it for replacement.
All right, thank you, sir. Mayor Pro Tem.
Well, Mr. Jones, when we talked about the flashing light, or the left turn signal, you talked about the, turn signal. That road, when you come off of 56, if you turn left going east, is Crescent Drive. That's the light with the arrow that works if you have enough cars. But what we're asking for is an arrow in the other direction, westbound. Holy School Road is on one side, Crescent Drive is on the other. So, what you just talked about was the light that allows traffic on Crescent Drive towards the high school. It's the Holy School Road. We need there's a turn lane there, but no arrow. And that's what we need, because the traffic on 56, and I will let Commissioner Albright explain it to you, because she's in it every single morning, and Commissioner Wilkins is also in it. The traffic on that road is horrendous from 6 o'clock in the morning till 9:30. And if you get towards the high school, and the traffic usually gets backed up worse at the high school around those hours, if you could turn left on Holy, now there's a left turn lane there, but not an arrow, and people won't let them out, so we need an arrow to go to Holy School Road. I thank you for checking on the turn signal that goes towards Crescent, and explaining that we have to have enough cars there before it'll trigger. That's fine. But we still haven't resolved the issue of putting a turn arrow for the westbound side left turn lane going to Holy School Road. I guess whoever getting out there didn't realize that the roads have two different names.
Yeah, so westbound NC 56, a turn left to head southbound on Holly School.
Right. There's no arrow there. That's what
correct.
we like.
We did look at that, and it didn't meet the needs for protected.
What is this by?
Yeah, when we evaluate intersections for traffic signals, we go by the Manual of Uniform Traffic Control Devices, which is a federal guidelines for evaluating intersections and determining if a signal is the right thing to put there. So in evaluating an intersection, there's, I think, 8 different what's called signal warrants that have to be met to qualify for a signal. Of course, this one is already signalized. So then you look at the turning movements and see what needs to be done from a protection standpoint. A lot of times it all plays into the overall timing of the signal. So what each phase of the signal gets from a timing standpoint. So sometimes you might think, we'd love to have a protected left here, and it may help out that turning movement, but it's going to take time away from another movement. So it could have negative consequences overall in how that signal operates.
So if the city of Creedmoor had the funds to pay the DOT to install one, would we be able to get it installed?
The protected left? we would need to evaluate it. I mean, based on the feedback I've gotten so far, it wasn't warranted.
And
That's why it was
that's
needed.
fine, but our citizens want, they want to be able to get out of that line of traffic and go down and find an alternate route.
Okay.
The second question was, when you mentioned Brains Crossing, there was not a traffic impact study done for Brains Crossing, is what I have been told. Brains was in 2007, and as far as I know, there was no traffic impact study for that.
Yeah, I just mentioned Brains Crossing had already had full approval to proceed. It wasn't based on any type of traffic impact study that I'm aware of. The Maury Lane, would be one that would do a TIA.
That's coming up, that one. Since Brains hasn't built in all the years that they haven't built, and the traffic and the subdivisions have increased so much since they first came to us for building that subdivision, is there any possibility we could get another one? Because traffic has changed a lot over that way. Is there any way we can get the DOT to look at it one more time? Now, I can't tell you when they're gonna build. I mean, we've been trying to guess that one for a while, but I can't tell you when they're gonna build, but the traffic between Franklinton and Creedmoor is horrendous in the morning. And I know that county commissioners and the mayor and Campbell are working very hard to try and get the study on Highway 56 pushed up a little bit, and that will greatly help when it gets done, but in the meantime, we're just looking for anything we can do to try and get something done.
So your question specifically with Brains Crossing, because they haven't constructed anything yet, is when they come back to the table, can we have them do a new TIA, or do a TIA, period?
Yes, that's the question. Okay. Thank you.
And Mr. Mayor, Mr. Turner, will definitely follow up on these items and send you a message about the follow-ups. We can look at the westbound left turn section again. But, yep.
Any other questions? Mr. Albright.
Sir, may I ask what time you did the study, or what time your person did the study for us?
They did. They were observed, this was October of 2023. They observed it from 6 to 8:30 a.m. and again from 2 to 6 p.m.
6 to 8:30, okay. Because I usually leave my house, I'm the one that lives by the Sotheby's and asking for the flashing lights. I usually leave my house between 7:30 and 7:45, and that line of traffic westbound is backed up to Mount Energy School and then some. So it's pretty nasty, and I would appreciate that that study a lot. I mean, I can't speak for him, but
6:30 sometime.
Mr. Gleason, any questions?
No, sir.
Commissioner Way? The one thing is, on Main Street, I worked with Chief King about the trucks going up, the big trucks going north that way. There's a lot of the residents, especially with the new apartments going up there, we were getting complaints, worried about the damages on that. Plus, a lot of those trucks, wouldn't be bad if they'd go straight and then bear left, but a lot of them then keep straight and circle around by the high school in that area too. So that was one of the reasons we encouraged them, the DOT, to stress that no truck area.
Okay, so it is signed.
Yeah.
But we don't enforce that.
Right, but I was just saying that's where it came from.
I got you. Okay, thank you, Mayor.
All right, we appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, Mayor Pro Tem. Your proposed amendment to the city's employees' personnel policy.
First, I want to thank the HR director for the changes that were made that I asked for in the last time. I'm going to ask the board one more time, this longevity pay from 0 to 2 years. Mr. City Manager, you can confirm this for me. All new employees have a 6-month probation, is that correct?
That's correct, unless it's extended for a reason.
Okay. So when I was in Winston-Salem at City Vision, I did a little asking around and checking. And I would like the 0 to 2 years longevity pay to go away beginning July 1st. Any employee that's already hired, that was hired under this rule, the way it is right now, or the way it was, will get their longevity pay, but any new hires after July 1st, if someone starts a job in July and then November comes around, they're going to get a longevity check. By definition of the word longevity, that's just ridiculous to me. And 6-month probation, I just don't think that that is right. So I would like to see the longevity pay 0 to 2 years taken out and begin longevity pay at 3 to 5. And any employee that was hired under the old plan, which was 0 to 4, we would honor what they were hired with. But all new employees effective July 1st, I would like to see that taken out of the personnel policy. And that we will have to vote on.
Mr. Wilkins.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, thank you. I'd like to commend Camille for being current on the employment conditions. I like to leave it in there. I think it's important to say to an employee, we appreciate you, and I don't have a problem with it being in. Thank you, Camille.
Commissioner Way, any comments or direction on this request? Commissioner Gleason?
I thought we had discussed it at the last meeting and everything we left in there, and I'm for leaving it in there.
Well, I think it was a consensus more than, because it was not voted on at that point. That's why it was on the consent agenda. Mr. Albright, any questions?
No, I don't have a question, but I would, yeah, I would assume or guess that it would be Mike, is it Mike's call, being that he's the...
It's a recommendation from the HR director, but it's the board's decision.
Okay, okay.
All right, so do you want to make that as a motion?
Yeah. I make a motion to the proposed amendment for the city employee personnel policy that we remove the 0 to 2 year longevity bonus beginning for all new employees starting July 1st. And leave the rest of it the way our HR director has modified it to.
So remove 0 to 2 and just basically have the first stage is
3 to 5.
3 to 5. City Clerk, have you got all that?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I knew you would, but I thought I'd ask. Adopt 3 to 5 as the initial part. All right, we have a motion on the floor. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no.
No.
All right, best
Sorry, I would have to go with the aye. I didn't hear you correctly. Yes, could you redo that, sir, please?
Okay, let's, all those in favor of Mayor Pro Tem's, motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no.
No.
Motion carries 3 to 2. If I heard that right, is that correct, what you got, Madam Clerk? Okay. All right. At this point, we will move down to item 10, new business, and this is ZMA 2024-01, Curran Dove Road. Mr. Frangos.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the board. Tonight's item is a zoning map amendment. That's what ZMA stands for. It's a zoning map amendment that looks to change our existing zoning map. The applicant, let's scroll through, Barbara. So the application had come in. Chad Abbott and C3 Design is representing the property owner. In this case, Carlton Curran. Properties there are on Dove Road, and they front also on NC 50. Let's keep scrolling till we get to a map. Okay, that's all part of the application materials, and that's part of, Chad's justification, for the rezoning request. Let's keep going. A little bit more, a little bit more. There we go. So this is the first map that might have confused everyone. Just to be clear, the blue/greenish highlight represents city limits. The bold yellow boundary is the property in question. So there is a portion of the property in question that does lie within the existing city limits, but the unshaded area is in our ETJ. It is zoned by the city as AG, which is an agricultural district, which also includes the portion that is inside the corporate limits. Next map, Barbara. Okay, so the green on this map represents the AG zoning district, and the rose color represents SFR. The small gray squares or rectangles you see represent existing houses or structures that exist on properties nearby. And the small blue rectangle, CIV, that stands for civic zoning. It is a city-owned parcel, used to be part of our utility system, I believe. Small little postage stamp of a piece there that right now doesn't function in any real fashion, but it is city-owned. Next slide. So this is an excerpt of our future land use map, the Flume map, from our 2040 city plan. And this property is identified as medium-density residential. It's that yellow represented between Highway 50 and Dove Road. And the boundaries do match up between the medium density and the agricultural zone that would exist to the south. Next. This is an illustration that just signifies the existing utilities in the area. The green arrows, 2 dots, are the wastewater collection system, and the pinkish line you see running north-south on Main Street is the water line, water distribution line. So, in short, this property could connect to nearby utilities that exist in Main Street, or South Main Street, Highway 50. So potentially this area could receive utility allocation if there were utility allocation to provide, which we all know that right now we do not have enough existing allocation. Let's keep scrolling, Barbara. I say that because there has been one unit of single-family detached approved on this site. There is a zoning permit that was issued to Mr. Curran back in September 28th of 2023 for one structure. Scroll down, Barb. Let's see keep going. There's another one with a map, this one. Is there a way, can we turn that? You think we can adjust it or no? No? If we could turn the view, I think it was up, yeah. So the reason this map is relevant is just goes with the existing zoning compliance permit. And in order for Mr. Curran to gain the benefit of our allocation, they had to apply it to a structure that's inside the corporate limits. This goes to our recently adopted allocation policy that does insist that any proposed development be inside the corporate limits in order to gain the benefit of our allocation. So again, this would represent a single structure. I think it's 4 bedrooms, so it was 300 gallons per day assigned to this structure. It's all right, don't worry about it, Barbara. It's not a big deal. Now you got, hey, it's upside down.
It's upside down. I'm not good at it. Hang on. Okay, we're trying one more. Hold on, control.
Yay. So I approved that. Those are my initials, MSF on 9/28/23. Again, for the time that it was a single structure on an existing parcel. And this small plot plan does show how that property could connect and where it does have access to 50 for utility connection purposes. So this is approved today and could go forward as one house in the single-family district inside the corporate limits. What Mr. Curran is requesting is that the balance of the tract, over 6+ acres, all be changed to SFR. Let's see, is there any more? That was great, thank you. This is, of course, an allocation request to Seguasa. We've approved it as part of our zoning compliance. I'm not sure, actually, if Seguasa is active on it individually or not. They have, okay. Anything more, Barbara? Let's see what else we got. And this was the planning board's consistency statement. They met on it last month at their April meeting, and they did recommend approval of the rezoning request. Tonight, we are scheduled for a public hearing. Additional pages in your agenda will show you that we've sent mailed letters, that we've published in the Butler Creedmoor News, and that we have posted the property with signage. So tonight is a public hearing that would be slated to open, and then depending on how the board wants to proceed, there would be a resolution of consistency as well as an ordinance to adopt. But I'll stop right here, and you can open up for the applicant and the public who might wish to speak.
Mike, you said part of this tract was in the ETJ, but now if we approve all this, that part would be brought into?
No, just the zoning would change. The annexation would take another action by the board to proceed with extending the corporate limits and including it. That is not part of it.
It's all in ETJ. It's all in ETJ.
Right, but it would not be in the corporate limits after tonight.
I thought only part of it was in the ETJ.
Only part of the city.
I mean, yeah, no, from what I saw on the map, it looked like there was a big chunk.
Go back to the blue one, Barbara, the way at the beginning. There you go. Blue is city, so just a little bit at the top.
Okay, I was looking at the dark one and then the little strip down at the bottom of ETJ.
No, you're right, I'm sorry. Everything that's uncolored, everything that is not shaded in the blue is ETJ.
Okay. So is it the intent of the property owner to request annexation?
If they want allocation, they would, but not part of this action. This action only addresses the zoning.
Zoning, nothing about water sewer allocation, anything like that, okay. All right, Commissioner Way, any questions? Commissioner Gleason? No. Mayor Pro Tem?
Mike, I see that on this allocation request, the new connection address says to be determined at Doug Road. So I'm assuming that the driveway for this property, this house that's being asked to be built, the driveway is going to be on Doug Road.
Right, on the site plan that Barbara showed, that is the way the driveway is oriented. It would have a Dove Road address for the building, the one structure. If they had hopes of building more on the balance of the tract, that would be decided at a later date under a major subdivision plan review. There would have to be a plat, there would have to be a design, there would have to go through that process of subdivision.
But if they built the houses one at a time and not like a subdivision.
Well, but you only have one large tract there. You would have to subdivide.
Okay, so you have to subdivide it to do that. Okay. And I have a question in the C3 design paperwork. There's a statement in here that I have a question about that I was reached out to by a citizen in applicable goals for developing the CLUP, whatever that means. It says, and requires no extension of infrastructure to serve the property. Infrastructure is sewer lines and water lines also.
And roadways.
Chad, I believe it was you and a Seguasa representative who last July walked across the street to Mr. Curran's property and looked at his water line. Is that true?
Before you answer, come up to the podium, please. Identify yourself, and we'll get you into this conversation.
All right. Good evening, members of the board. Chad Abbott, C3 Design, 2537 East Line Station Road, Creedmoor, North Carolina, 27522. I am representing the applicant here, and we did originally propose, this is for a zoning change, not for the house. The house has already been issued as a zoning permit, allowed by right on that existing parcel. So this has nothing to do with that single-family house. It's just that that's already been approved as a zoning permit. The setbacks that show on that zoning permit are for the ag district, which really constrained that property, which was one of the things that precipitated the application. So that if it was all single-family residential and not split zoned, this parcel with the setbacks would change to allow that house shape to possibly change or morph if needed. Because right now it observes the agricultural setbacks, even though the property is, because it's zoned agricultural. So that's the setbacks that are provided. To get to your question, the rezoning application, I provided a write-up, and if you see in staff's report, it says 2 determinations are required to accompany the final decision of zoning map amendment. Board of Commissioners must state whether the action is consistent or inconsistent with the future land use map. And I look, the future land use plan is what I usually refer to, because the map is only a portion of your overall future land use plan that you adopted. I went through your future land use plan, or CLUP, Creedmoor Land Use Plan, is what
That's what that stands for, okay.
And one of the things supporting rezonings does not require infrastructure extensions. Parcels that are adequately located adjacent to existing infrastructure. This property already fronts along water and sewer mains. What you're referencing are extending services over to the lot, which is not one of the same.
I thought that's what this sentence meant.
No, the infrastructure is the public infrastructure. The is the water and sewer mains, which exist already along the property frontage.
On Dove Road?
No, on 50. There's
okay.
Water and sewer frontage. So even per the site plan, we showed how we would then connect to those lines that. Because this is all one property. You see the parcel hook?
Mm-hmm.
That's part of the whole request. The parcel hook, the little purple hookup in the middle of the page there, the parcel to the north,
yeah.
the parcel to the north is already zoned
SFR.
The rest of the property is zoned AG. So we're just trying to make everything consolidated, no split zones, and have a common setback for the whole property. That applies to the whole property. And the property fronts, the whole length of property, both sides of that parcel hook, front on Highway 50. The northern part of that fronting fully along gravity sewer and existing public water mains.
So this drawing of the house, that's the one that you're applying for on this one?
Oh, no, we're not applying for anything, because that's already been approved as a zoning permit. We just want to change the zoning of the property so the setbacks are consistent and the zoning is consistent for the whole property.
Okay, so can you please answer the question, does the driveway for that house come out on Dove Road?
Yes, it shows right there on the map.
That's what I thought, I just wanted that explained. And I know we're not at the point, and that's not what this hearing is about, but I'm going to tell you right now, I do not want to see any driveways coming off the Main Street side of this property, because that is an extremely dangerous situation with that blind hill. If all the driveways, however many houses there are and roads get put in and whatever, if you could keep it in the back of your mind to have them enter and exit off of Dove Road, because that blind hill that goes from 55 to 35, that's dangerous all in itself on a daily basis. You put a couple driveways coming out there, and I know I can't tell you that, I'm just asking. That's all I'm doing.
No, it's completely a legitimate question, but like Mike said, there are some driveways there, but there's no intention. This is a zoning permit for one single house, and there's been no zoning permit submitted for any of the other parcels. I don't even know if one could actually fit on that sliver that fronts on 50. So there would have to be a recombination and then another subdivision that Mike would have to review before any driveways were put on. And that's not even close to the intent. In any road that would ever be put, I mean, that's DOT turn, I mean, you're talking about crazy, that's not even in the cards for any, this is just a rezone request to consolidate, make everything uniform on one property.
I don't want that section of road as you enter Creedmoor to end up looking like Wake Forest, where you drive in and all you see is cement buildings on the right. I liked it, I'm sorry, it's not funny. This is our city and we don't want it to look like that. So I was surprised when I saw this. This is just my opinion, and that's all I'm doing is just expressing my opinion.
Understood. I mean, and again, this isn't for a particular, I mean, that house has already been approved. The request is not for a house or any houses on 50. It's just to change the zoning to make it uniform and consistent across the property. So that the parcel hooks that exist and the rest of the land could be combined as one property and have no split zonings on the property.
Good? Mr. Albright? Mr. Wilkins?
And being the slow individual that I am, just to put it simply, all you're looking at doing is rezoning this one piece of property. But I mean, put it down in a nutshell, that's all you're looking to do.
Yeah, I mean, it's three properties actually that are all owned by Mr. Kern. We're looking to make them all under one uniform zoning. I think there's 3 PIN numbers listed. In the yellow area that Mike, there's 3 either parcel hooks or the stream cut parcel off one time.
So basically 3 tracks.
Combined.
Combined.
Yes, 3 that make the yellow outline that Mike presented on the.
Okay. Mr. Way?
I believe it's my understanding that this will make him be able to utilize his property and turn his house wherever he would need to. He currently can't reposition his house based on the current zoning, is that correct?
It's very constrained, yes.
Once this is approved, he'll be able to move it back and use the land that he currently has all at once.
Be better able to utilize it. Yes.
I got you.
Right, any further questions? All right, at this time, we will open the floor for a public hearing. Public hearing is now open. Is there anyone that would like to speak for?
Stephen Kern.
Well, Mr. Curran.
Yes, sir.
You hiding back in the back, I see.
Yes, sir. That's the best place.
My favorite seats are on the back row.
Thank you, Mayor Wheeler, Commissioners, Mr. Turner. My name is Stephen Curran. I live at 420 South Main Street here in Creedmoor. It's a property that is just right across the road from this proposed amendment that we're speaking of today. I have been to many of these hearings in the past to support my neighbors and fellow citizens of Creedmoor, even in the city limits and outside, regarding basically subdivisions and developers. And I saw fit today, I don't import a representative or anything, I saw fit to be here tonight to address y'all about my concerns. The house that's proposed thus far, the 4-bedroom, however many, square footage house, where it exists right now, that I have no problems with. New neighbor would be great. I do, however, look to the future, as I've seen so many other amendments to zoning happen in the past, and they sneak in. This is what I call foot in the door, and the developers come in, and if this is approved for the tract that is not colorized in the map, in the future, that's, no holds barred. They can develop that. Developer, obviously, I'm guessing Mr. Abbott, since he's representing the Currans, and I am in no way related to Pat Curran nor his family. And I'm a native of Granville County and have been a resident of Creedmoor for 25 years. We purchased the 420 South Main Street property in 2008. We have loved it there. We have got so many wonderful neighbors in Whitehall, the neighbors beside us. And again, my main concern is just simply what's going to happen in the future. There are no assurances, there are no guarantees. And the property that now is allotted is 6.25 acres. It's my understanding that the current ordinances are you can build one house for every half acre. It's my understanding, or something akin to it.
Mr. Frangos.
One house per 5 acres.
One house.
Each.
Okay.
If there was SFR, 1 acre could potentially yield 4 houses.
So, there we go. 4 houses could be put on 1 acre, correct?
1 acre.
There we go, Mr. Frank. Thank you, sir, very much. So, just because of my hesitation to even begin to support this amendment, is simply the future. Our property, basically the allocations for water and sewer are located on our property, right there in front of the house. We do our best to maintain the house, the yard, make everything look nice, and the last thing I want is a subdivision right across the street from my house. And thanks to Chief Wheelis and his police force, the speeding has slowed down tremendously, and I thank you for that, sir. But people who actually do slow down enough when they come into Creedmoor or leave Creedmoor, I'm sure that they enjoy seeing that wooded area across from our house. And I'm just so afraid that it's going to be clear cut and that it is just going to turn into not only an eyesore, but a population problem, an allocation problem as well. And that's my main concerns. And like I said, I received this letter last Tuesday, the 30th of April, and had very limited time to prepare. And I apologize for that, y'all. But I did know that what my wife and I are in complete and total opposition to turning this AG into single-family residence zoning, because I know what happens in the future. And that's just a prime spot that a developer would love to get their hands on, and at the cost of our peace of mind and peacefulness line their pockets. So thank y'all so much for your time. I do appreciate it, and thanks for hearing me.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mayor.
Is there anybody else that would like to speak for or against the project or the rezoning? Not seeing any, I will declare this public hearing closed. Mr. Frangos, is there a buffer between this tract and Highway 50?
No, sir.
So
it does abut directly.
So they actually could put driveways tagging into Highway 50 if they so choose?
It would be a DOT approval requirement, but the short answer is yes, maybe. I sound like an attorney, right? It depends.
Sound like a husband. Okay, and now that the public hearing is closed, does anybody have any other questions? Anything down this way, Mr. Gleason?
I guess my question is, we kind of like went from a zoning change to now we're talking about subdivision. The zoning change would have no effect on whether there's a subdivision or not. There could be. That subdivision would have to go before the planning department. It would have to go before the DOT, which I can't imagine would allow 7 or 8 driveways coming out of a subdivision onto 56 or 50. And if you look at our 2040 plan, our plan for that zoning is to be what they're trying to change it to. So if we made a plan and now we don't want to stick to it,
Yeah, the biggest difference between the two zoning districts is density. Just that idea of 5-acre minimum lot sizes versus 11,600 square feet minimum lot sizes.
And Mr. Kern, I sympathize with you because, well, my parents built that house. And I have had troubles when I was 16 coming out that driveway as it is. So I can sympathize with you. But on the other hand, you know, I hate to tell anybody what they can do and not do with their property as long as it meets what the city has designated. But again, that's further down the road. Okay, if there's no more questions, we are looking at, if I do this correctly, a motion to approve ZMA 2024-01 as presented. Motion is made by Commissioner Way. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion carries 4-1. All right, Mr. Frangos, thank you, sir.
That's going to include all the ordinance and resolution?
Yeah, should. I mean, I'm doing what was told to do the motion, so.
Mr. City Attorney, is that correct?
Well, so I think that's an important point, we should clarify that on the record. If that motion was intended to encompass approval of the resolution and the adopting ordinance, then I think that's fine.
Well, we did it as presented, and I assume all that stuff was presented, so.
Okay, so I think as long as it's clear on the record that that was the intention of the motion, then that is my intention of the motion.
And that's what we authorized. Okay. All right, that took care of that. Ms. Frangos, again, thank you, sir. All right, that was 10A. 10B, new Joe Pease Road lift station, Mr. Frangos.
Hey, you're not through yet. We have more to do. So tonight's next action is a large site plan approval. That is LSP. It's large site plan approval for the new Joe Pease Road lift station. This is an exciting item for me and for all of us at staff level because this is a big part of our future. This item did go before your planning board again at the April meeting and was very well received. They gave it a unanimous recommendation for approval. But there was some very interesting conversation that came up that night, and the thing that interested me the most was the modern design of the lift station apparatus. And I hope Bo or whoever will speak about the redundancies that are built in and the safety of this new type facility that won't leak and can't essentially leak. That's one of the crucial components that were brought up because we all know we're part of the Falls Lake watershed. And this is a major collection point for wastewater. But there are so many things that are in this design that would prevent malfunction. It's just amazing. Certainly compared to what the 50-plus-year-old Joe Pease lift station was. And that's a great, big difference. So I'm going to stop there. I'll come back at the end if you all like, but CDM Smith and Scott, I think, might introduce them, and we'll go forward from there.
Thank you, Mike.
Mr. Schroyer, if you'll identify yourself, and we'll go from there.
Scott Schroyer, Executive Director for the South Granville Water and Sewer Authority, located, excuse me, at 415 Central Avenue in Butner. Mayor, Commissioners, City Manager, it's a pleasure to be here this evening to talk to you about the Joe Pease lift station improvements. This evening I have members with us from the team of CDM Smith, the engineering design firm that has been working on the project for the last couple of years. They're also engaged in creating the specifications for this project and getting this project out for bid later this summer so we can get under construction and finish this project in a couple of years from now. Also joining me this evening is Joel Coates, the Guasa project manager, in the audience. This evening I'll have Bo Mackey come up and provide a presentation to the board members here. And we're going to give you a little bit of a background on the project purpose and background of the project in general as far as the I-85 sewer improvement project. And then we'll jump into the Joe Pease pump station itself and talk about the design, the site plan, public considerations, and so on. So we look forward to the conversation this evening with the board. So at this time, I'd like to call Bo Mackey up, professional engineer. Bo?
evening, board members. So, as Scott had said today, we're gonna kind of go over the project as a whole for the I-85 sanitary sewer improvements project. So we're gonna be kind of talking about two things here. In general, we're gonna give kind of an overview of the entire project. You know, you've probably heard lots about this project, and we will be giving you kind of just a holistic idea of what the project is. And then after we kind of go over the project in whole, we're going to go over, in particular, the Joe Pete lift station, which is kind of the main component that affects the city of Creedmoor and will ultimately provide sewer capacity and is really one of the only components of the project that's actually in the ETJ of the city of Creedmoor. You can, if you can just go to the next slide. There is a, great. Maybe. Maybe not.
Wait, okay, try. Let me go back.
Oh, there we go. Great. Maybe not.
All right, I'll do it.
Yeah, if you want to just, I can just ask you to flip through them. That'd be great. Thank you. So as I said, you know, the agenda for kind of the first component or first part of this presentation will just be going over the project purpose and background. Then we'll kind of go over the actual project improvements as a whole. We're going to kind of look at a holistic project map of everything, talk quickly about the final design and permitting, and then the project schedule and funding of how this project is ultimately going to be paid for and the timeline it's on. Then, as Mr. Frangos had discussed, we'll go over the Joe Pete lift station and the design. In particular, we will talk quite a bit about the site plan. It is a recombination plan between a couple parcels, and we'll also discuss kind of the public considerations, what it will look like from the roadway, odor, other things like that, and then the city of Creedmoor permitting status there at the end. Thank you. So project purpose and background. This is an overall map of both the city of Creedmoor and the town of Butner and kind of the surrounding area. So the area that's kind of in the darker red is existing developed land, or a land that has some sort of a structure on it. So the overall purpose of this project is really just to provide increased sewer capacity to the city of Creedmoor and then the town of Butner and the surrounding areas on this map. So the town of Creedmoor is essentially the area that's in red with green surrounding it. So the green is kind of undeveloped land that would ultimately be served by this project as a whole for the sewer capacity. You can see I-85 kind of intersecting the map there, just north and south, and then Butner is obviously on the west side of that. And it shows kind of the future areas that would be surrounding. So this project as a whole will basically be able to serve everything that's in this map that's color-coded different colors. And they're kind of associated with which portions of the project they flow to, but ultimately the project as a whole will serve them. Project phase 1, we started in 2021. So there was a preliminary kind of conceptual master plan that was developed originally. So we did some additional hydraulic modeling, a capacity review, and we actually ultimately we developed 5 different alternatives of how to serve this entire area, where to locate pump stations, gravity sewers, force mains. Ultimately, we narrowed those down and came to a single one, and we selected that alternative and moved into project phase 2, which was in 2022. It was a preliminary engineering. In that phase, we kind of looked at alignments. We looked at, where is this pipeline going to go? How is it going to affect the surrounding area? And then data collection, which would be things like surveying, geotechnical borings, and other things like that. Basically, field data and field assessments is what we mostly did in 2022. As we went into phase 3, which is essentially 2023 to now, we've done final design. So we've got actually 2 construction packages now. We'll show that in the map in just a minute. And each of those construction packages has roughly 200 design plans in each phase, in each package. So we've been doing that, and then a lot of permitting in the last year. We've submitted over 20 permits, and have received nearly half of them at this point. So we're well on our way to having most of our permits. So this is an overall map of the entire project. As you can see on the left side of your map there is the town of Butner. I-85 is kind of intersecting the map north to south, and then the city of Creedmoor is actually just off of this map, but it would be just to the right. The overall intention and goal of this project is essentially to convey sewage from the city of Creedmoor, which is to the east, and the wastewater treatment plant for Sigwassa that serves all of the wastewater in this area is actually just off the map to the left side, to the west of the page. So the really ultimate goal of this entire project is to convey sewer from the city of Creedmoor and surrounding areas to the west side of the map, where the wastewater treatment is just off the page. So, I won't go into a lot of detail on the entire project as a whole, but generally, starting from the right side of the page here, the new Joe Pede lift station there, which is just under the letters that say City of Creedmoor, is just south of Joe Pede Road. The existing lift station is just on the north side, and that will be abandoned, and that gravity sewer will go to the new Joe Pede lift station. So that's essentially what we will be talking about kind of in the later part of the presentation. But just for an understanding of the project as a whole, essentially the Joe Pede lift station conveys sewage through a pressurized force main, which is just a pressure sewer main that's in the dashed yellow line, and that kind of just goes all the way west. It discharges to a gravity sewer just on the north or west side of I-85 and will ultimately go to the wastewater treatment plant. So final design and permitting. So we had design submissions at 30%, 60, and 90% with Sigwassa. We would develop, partial plans. Like I said, we're well over 200 plans at this point, and we would kind of develop the main portions of them, review them with Sigwassa, and we've kind of done that. We're currently at 100% design. We're making very, very minor modifications to things based on permits that we're receiving. And like I said, we've submitted more than 20 permits. That would be to DEQ for erosion and sediment control, NCDOT permits, which was pretty substantial because the majority of these sewer lines are within NCDOT right-of-ways, as well as many others. There is Army Corps land that we've had to get permits through, Dominion Energy, Duke Energy, railroad crossings, so there's a lot of coordination with various stakeholders that we've kind of worked through. So an overall project schedule here. So where we are right now is in 2024. So our goal is, like I said, we have separated this into two construction packages. Construction package 1, our goal and target is to advertise and be into the bidding and award by Q3 of 2024 with a goal of starting construction by the beginning of 2025. So the construction is about 3 years in time period. So construction package 1, which would be the Joe Pede lift station and the Joe Pede force main, as well as a couple other components, will be targeting to be done by the end of Q4 for 2027. And then construction package 2 is on just a slightly delayed time path, and that's mostly due to permits and other things that we've kind of lumped into this second construction package with the goal of starting construction in Q2 of 2025, and that's mostly just to get the bidding and award and some other permits for that time. And that will be done in Q2 of 2028. So it's about a 3-year time period for either construction package, just depending on what's within it. So project funding. The project is, as a whole, is just around $70 million. Just nice round numbers for what our project funding is. Construction package 1 is going to be funded by the American Rescue Plan Act, and that is a $35 million grant. That's federal funds coming from the federal government, and that will be part of construction package 1. USDA, U.S. Department of Agriculture, there is a rural water, which is a pretty common funding mechanism for a $35 million low-interest loan, and that is for construction package 2. So that is a loan that Sigwassa will be obtaining And we have actually, I think it was just at the end of, it's 2 weeks ago that we submitted both of these final funding requests to both DWI, which is Department of Water Infrastructure, which will administer the funds for ARPA, and USDA for the rural water loan. This is kind of a little bit of a caveat. There is, with the USDA, a required match of about $6.9 million, which is, if that's kind of in relation to the $35 million loan. So if the full $35 million is received, SIGWASA would match $6.9 million of that. And, again, our construction estimate is just that, an estimate. We'll put it out for advertisement and bidding. If we come in under, that would be great. And if we are slightly over, then that match would kind of come into play with some of that. So I will go ahead and go through the GOP lift station. Again, if we've got any questions at the end on the project as a whole, we can kind of go over those. So I'll start through the GOP lift station here. So like we were talking about, this GOP lift station is kind of highlighted there. And ultimately, the GOP existing lift station, which you'll see on the north side of the road, that would be demolished and abandoned. It is past its useful life, past its design life at this point. So the purple lines there that are shown would be gravity sewer. It would take that lift station flow to the new proposed GOP lift station on the south side of the road. And so, you can go back to that one just for a second. Thank you. Yeah. So just as a blow up to that star is essentially the parcel that we'll be looking at. We'll be looking at that in just a second. Kind of similar to what we were looking at. We'll have some maps showing the recombination of that and what that looks like from a parcel standpoint. But it is just on the south side of the road. And that is ultimately what we're here to talk about. As we're talking about this project, we wanted to kind of give a holistic overview of the project. But this is kind of the portion of the project that we wanted to talk about with GOP lift station today. All right, so we won't go too much into the in-depth of the design.
Thank you.
But yeah, so just as a concept, the existing GOP lift station conveys just around 1 million gallons a day of wastewater flow. This pump station will be capable of conveying up to 6.6 million gallons a day once it's fully built out. So all of the infrastructure will be put in place initially. It'll have room for 4 pump slots, and each pump is rated for 2.2 million gallons a day. The 4th pump is there for redundancy by state laws and guidelines. So each pump is 3 pumps rated at 2.2. We're only going to put in 2 initially, with the 3rd there for redundancy. So by state regulations, it'll be rated for 4.4, but that 3rd pump could be dropped in a matter of a week or 2 if needed at any point, and it would get to the full 6.6 million gallons. So the gravity sewer is kind of coming from the right side of the page there. You can see generally the outline of the parcel that we are kind of looking at. There will be a driveway coming off the south side of GOP Road. It'll be a pavement driveway for about 50 feet. Just past that, there will be a gate near the road, and it'll be a gravel driveway kind of coming back to the site that will be offset about 200 to 250 feet off the road. So you can see here the gravity sewer will come into the pump station. There's a lot going on, but this is a 3D rendering of what the lift station will look like. So the gravity actually kind of comes in on the right side of that 3D rendering. There's an influent channel there that has what we call grinders to essentially macerate and cut up anything that's in the sewer that will allow the pumps to pump them easier. And they will go into two wet wells on either side with 2 pumps on each. From there, it goes into a valve building that has, check valves, other things like that in there that will allow the pump station to operate, and then an electrical building is what that building will look like. So as a whole, that's what the lift station will do. It's to pump wastewater just from this Joe Pete area to the west side of I-85.
A long way.
Yeah, it is it's a couple miles to the end of where we're trying to get it to. So these are just a couple of the GOP lift station renderings, what it will look like. You can see, the road coming off of it. It'll be about a 20-foot gravel drive, and then there will be a stormwater control measure kind of at the back of the site just to retain stormwater. And where the pumps sit, there is what we call a monorail just for pump removal. It'll have a hoist attached to it just for operation and maintenance. And kind of around that site, it'll just be gravel within it, room for operation of vehicles that will be coming in. One of the things that Mr. Frangos had talked about is just in terms of the redundancy and kind of what this lift station will operate to do is just convey that wastewater to the other side of the county. It is designed to North Carolina regulations, and in terms of leakage or any sort of overflows, some of the overflows and concerns that have happened in the past are due to capacity. So this lift station will have significant capacity, not just for now, but well into the future. And it'll be designed such that, it is about a 30-foot deep pump station, just because, the gravity sewer that will be coming to it serves such a wide area. So it'll be designed for a long lifetime. So the GOP lift station plat. So this is the parcel that is being cut out. So it is a roughly 5-acre parcel that's being taken, and the parcel line that's on the south side is actually an existing parcel line, and then it's a little bit difficult to see, but the line that goes just south of that to the southwest is an existing parcel line. But the new line to the kind of northwest there is a new parcel line that will be cut out. So there is a significant portion of this area that is in the floodplains and the wetlands, but we're kind of just putting the new pump station on the upland area of that, but we've kind of carved out the rest of the parcel to obtain just for that area. And then it's also a little bit difficult to see, but where you kind of see the diagonal line coming up the Joe Pete Road, it is actually a second parcel that's just near the roadway there. So that second, small parcel and triangular area is actually part of a parcel that goes across the road. So it is technically a recombination plat from what we're obtaining from the city of CREEDMOOR. And it is in an agricultural district as well. As far as the zoning, the offsets and things are not shown here, but we're well within all the offsets for the areas that we're in. So a couple lift station considerations, things that we've worked through with the city of CREEDMOOR and Mr. Frangos are currently, if you drive down Joe Pete Road, you might smell some odor. This lift station is obviously going to get a significant increase in capacity, so it has an odor control system. It's essentially just a forced air system that pulls through ducts from the wet well, which is where the wastewater is contained. It goes through a carbon unit, so there will be an odor control addition there, so should take care of the odors that are coming from the site currently. Site lighting, we've kind of worked through that. We've got a kind of snapshot there of what the overall site lighting will look like. It'll be pretty well lit through the site. Noise reductions, overall, there will be minimal noise actually from the lift station itself. The pumps operate very quietly. The pumps are actually not the main concern. It's actually the generator typically that has noises. And so it's just an emergency generator, and it typically runs maybe once a week just to have typical operation. And it'll have kind of an odor control, a noise control system. So basically an enclosure that goes over top of it to stay within the noise ordinances. Security fencing gates, there is a 8-foot tall chain link fence. It's got to have some mesh that is kind of associated with the lift station fence, and it will, so you won't be able to see through the fence in that way. Operation and maintenance, so this is not a 24/7 manned facility. This is something that probably SIGWASA will have somebody at 1 to 2 times a day, in addition to if there are any additional maintenance concerns. So there will not be kind of continual traffic coming in and out of here. It should be relatively minimal traffic. And then traffic control. So as far as traffic control goes, the concern would not be as much for during normal operation, it would be more for during construction. There's going to be the force main that comes across the road as well as the gravity line. There will be quite a bit of traffic control during construction, primarily lane closures, and there will be a temporary shutdown of Joe Peed Road, but there is access from both sides during construction, so that would be probably for a couple weeks at a time. So that kind of brings us to the end. The Joe Peed lift station current status is, we've gone to the planning board a few weeks ago and presented this exact same presentation to just get concurrence and approval. And so we have resubmitted our final permits for this on April 2nd and is pending approval currently. So I think at this time, open up any questions from the board or anybody else.
Mr. Wilkins, any questions? Commissioner Allwright?
No.
Mayor Pro Tem?
Did you say that this new Joe Peed pump station was in the flood zone?
There are portions of the property within the flood zone, but the pump station will not be. It'll be elevated at least 5 to 10 feet above what the flood zone.
Okay.
Commissioner Gleason, any questions? No, sir. Commissioner Way? All right. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, at this time, we need to have a motion, if I'm on the right page here, to approve LSP-2024-01 as presented. And that includes all the attachments and side statements and everything else involved. So I will entertain a motion to approve. Mayor Pro Tem has made the motion. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion carries 5-0. Do you have something? See, I watched the twitches. No. Okay. Moving on here then. Ms. Frangos and your team, let me say thank you very much. I know it's a full-time job and it's a lot of work and a lot of money to push a lot of crap in. I'm sorry, but I couldn't help it. It had to be said. So. Uphill, yeah, both ways. You can if you want to. Mayor Pro Tem.
So, I just want to share with everybody in the room, I have just been told that the Viking baseball and softball teams have both won their state playoff games tonight.
Didn't the girls have 2 games tonight? So, maybe we can carry some of that over. All right, now we're at item 10C, City Hall renovation grant project ordinance. Mr. Faines.
Good evening, Mayor, Board of Commissioners. As you all aware, back in October 2023, the city was awarded the Regional Economic Development Reserve Grant in the amount of $250,000. We received those funds at the end of April and has been deposited into our account. So this ordinance is just setting up a capital project fund because this grant rolls over multi-fiscal years. The deadline of October 3rd, 2025. So that gives us a year and a half to complete the necessary work that was outlined in the scope of work. So like I said, this ordinance is just setting the accounting in place to manage and report on this grant, which has to be reported quarterly to the state.
Commissioner Way, any questions?
No, sir. I don't have any questions. I just have a statement. Mr. City Manager, are you ready to do some renovating?
We're almost there. Well, we got till October of next year, so. Commissioner Wilkins, any questions?
No, sir.
Commissioner Gleason?
No, sir.
Commissioner Albright? Mayor Pro Tem?
Nothing, just looking forward to seeing you change it.
All right, at this time, I will entertain a motion to approve the finance director's recommended project ordinance, which is REDR project grant ordinance.
So moved.
Motion is made by Commissioner Wilkins. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries.
One more thing just to add, later on down the road, when we get to the point where general fund dollars is needed for the overage of the 250, I'll bring it back to you all for amendment, for those additional funds.
A budget amendment, I love it.
Yeah. Thank you all.
Thank you, sir. All right, we go to discussion items, 11A, discussion on code enforcement fees, fines, and penalties. Commissioner Wilkins.
Yes, sir, thank you. So I was privy to some written communication between myself, the city manager, and a member of staff about a corporation within the city that continues to litter and have garbage on their property, and the code enforcement officer was on top of it, and issues a number of citations to no avail. You know, one of the statements he made was, well, these big corporations are not really affected by a $50 fine. So I just want to know from the board, or they want to look at increasing our fines to try to get them to move the needle rather than ignore us. Mr. Francos, if you could help me with this, where we're at, what can we increase by statute, by city ordinance?
So what I know is right now it's $50 a day.
Right.
When it comes to the code of ordinances and nuisances. And for zoning, it's 100, 300, 500.
Right.
It escalates as it goes through zoning. I think most often we're concerned with the nuisance violations. Those are the ones related to trash, debris, high grass, weeds, accumulation of rubbish, et cetera. I think we're limited, and that's where I'm gonna need to ask Kevin about what we could do.
What can we do is my question.
So I think we can definitely amend the city code to increase the civil penalty amount associated with violations of the city nuisance ordinance. Generally speaking, the civil penalty amount is intended to be proportional to kind of the cost to the city in terms of staff time and the expenditure of resources to investigate violations. In other words, civil penalty is not intended to be a money-making proposition for the government. That being said, I know that in many cases there are codes of ordinances, I think that impose civil penalties of up to $500 per violation. So that's certainly something that we could explore is increasing the amount of civil penalties imposed under the city code. And y'all may have had an opportunity, I guess, for me to point out some of the work that Mike did in the background here. Mike prepared, y'all may have seen the agenda package, several recommendations regarding some improvement or maybe streamlining to our code enforcement and our CEO enforcement process ordinances. We have, I think, a lot of different terminology for different notices and warnings and courtesy letters, those sort of things that go out that are not really required by law and that sometimes I think confuse the issue in terms of kind of what we title them. So I think Mike has recommended a few things, kind of renaming and making more consistent some of the terminology that we use in the CBO and in the city code. I would also recommend that if the city chooses, and it's not something I think that y'all need to decide to do this evening, but it's just something to have on your radar as we kind of in parallel with consideration of increasing civil penalty amounts. I think it's also, I would recommend that we prepare template notice of violation letters and warning citation letters that can kind of keep our code enforcement officer to kind of fill in blanks, and so that each letter that goes out is, contains the same, we know it contains all of the required information, it's generally kind of consistent with one another, and I think that would go a long way towards kind of streamlining and maybe making the process a little bit more transparent, for citizens, particularly those who are receiving numbers. I think that sounds like maybe in this case, transparency or clarity in notices probably would not have.
Exactly.
But it might be helpful for some other citizens, particularly with respect to things like
Would the board be willing to look at increasing the citations amounts?
Well, let's run through the discussion and see what we can do. Have you finished?
No, yeah.
Mayor Pro Tem.
Kevin, since we're talking about a business, right? Is there any possibility, or is it legally possible for us to shut them down, and if after so many notices and non-compliance, we shut them down until they get compliant?
Well, I think that depends on what, so if you're talking about shutting them down in terms of like pulling, perhaps like a certificate of occupancy for their building, that sort of thing, I don't think that we can do that for violations of the nuisance ordinance. If there are violations of the CEO or, a building code violation or a minimum housing violation, those are the sorts of things where we could take action, like pulling a certificate of occupancy or requiring, them to get a change in use permit and getting kind of a stop work order, or that would require them to cease operations until they get a new permit or make improvements to the property. With respect to the nuisance violation, for simply having, rubbish on their property, I don't think that we can, pull their certificate of occupancy, or otherwise can shut them down.
Well, we don't issue C of O, so that's why I'm wondering, how can we pull them?
Well, I think that what we would do is we would notify
the county
that they're violating their, the CEO, which is what the issuance of a certificate of occupancy, at least in part of this practice.
So, in the last month, I have learned that there are several municipalities around here and in the state that when people are not complying to the notices, they've issued condemnation. And I believe that we've got that right now, is if you do not become in compliance, we can condemn you. I mean, we need something stronger. The money we collect from these fines doesn't even come back to the city. So it's a lose-lose situation. We lose the money we pay you. We lose the money that our staff is running around doing this. We've got, Commissioner Wilkins says, we've got to get some stronger teeth in our ordinances, because people are just kind of looking at us like,
I know we've talked about this before, but I don't think that the ordinances that we have in place lack teeth. Our ordinances allow the city to pursue any remedy that's permitted by general statute. So I think that the lack of teeth has been, in the past, historically, has been a decision by past board commissioners not to pursue legal action. Now, I think with respect to condemnation, when you refer to condemnation, what I'm assuming you're referring to is the city taking action to foreclose, for instance, to foreclose on a property. That is not something that the city can just do summarily. As an example, the code enforcement action that we've recently completed, if the property owner chooses not to pay the judgment, an option available to the city would be to foreclose on the property to collect the judgment.
Franklinton noticed all their shop owners in the last 3 months to get their buildings straightened out, get their businesses looking better on their main street. And they told them that they had to get it done. And this one shop owner just wouldn't do it. They kept sending letters, gave him 30 days or they were going to condemn the building. And that's exactly what they had to do, because he didn't comply. And the building that was next door to him was kind of following his lead. He fixed his building the next day.
Yeah, I suspect that is not a code of a general police power ordinance thing. That is likely a minimum housing ordinance thing. It deals with kind of the structural integrity of the building. Because, and what I'll say.
What about the statute, the Main Street statute? There's a statute that talks about storefronts can't be left wide open and blank, where if the building is vacant, which we've got a building on our Main Street, it's been vacant for years, and you can see right in there and see, to stop vagrancy, there's a Main Street statute that says they have to board it, paper it up, or do something so that people don't know it's a vacant building anymore.
Right, that's a minimum housing issue with respect to the kind of the habitability and suitability of a particular property. That's not, a distinction I want to make clear is that I don't believe the city has the legal authority to condemn or condemn a property for something like having, rubbish on their property in violation of the nuisance ordinance. I think the city could, if there were a structural issue or some other concern regarding kind of a public health and safety concern for the particular property, then under the city's minimum housing ordinance, or minimum housing authority granted by the general statute, I think that the city probably could take action to, there would be several steps that the city would have to take in between, but that might ultimately result in an order that the property be vacated and condemned. Now, that's not to say that Franklinton and other municipalities are not doing this under some creative interpretation of state law that has not been tested. I think as you all are familiar with.
Other cities that did the same thing.
Right, and so it's like, I think, like you all are familiar with, the city can do what it wants. The question then becomes, if challenged, how defensible is the city's decision, and if the city's decision is in violation of state law, is the city prepared to pay the challengers, attorneys' fees, and to deal with the consequences that might come from that?
Well, like Commissioner Wilkins has said, this is a company that continues for years now to violate and violate and violate and violate, and there's a certain point where we're saying, you know what, we don't want you in our city.
Yeah.
Go somewhere else.
And I think that we're kind of having two separate conversations, right? There's the question of, is there something that we can do under our current nuisance ordinance that might have some impact?
Right.
Or can we create a new one?
And the answer to that is yes. I think we're having a separate conversation about whether the city could summarily condemn a building for violations of the nuisance ordinance. And I think the answer to that is that it depends, I think, on how you want to interpret and read state law. The answer that I would give you sitting here today is that probably not. If the city directs me to do some legal research and to give this some creative thought, I would be happy to try to find a way that we could structure the city code to give the city that authority, or at least to get us closer to that. But again, I think those are two entirely separate discussions, and I want to make sure that I'm answering each question.
Commissioner Albright.
Mike, you stated about the $100, the $300, and the $500 fines. What happens after the $500? Is that just what?
Continues on.
Oh, okay.
500 will continue every day thereafter, but again, those are for zoning violations, violations of the CDO.
Yeah.
And that's where I think we definitely have more authority and more power. When it comes to nuisance violations, we are limited by what we can do. And I think we're also limited in that we can't treat a business-owned property differently
from anybody else.
From a residentially owned property. There's no special case. If you're a millionaire or you're a pauper, we're going to charge you differently.
Understood. So what can we do with the citations? What kind of teeth can we put into it besides $50 a day?
So I think that what we can do is we can increase the amount of the dollar amount of civil penalties associated with violations of the nuisance ordinance.
And I think we can get there quicker.
Okay.
What I've told you all about is our past practices about warn, extend, warn, then notice a violation, then extend, then warn some more, and maybe we'll find you at the end. What we could do in streamlining, what Kevin's suggesting, is we get to the point of violation quicker.
Yes.
Puts us quicker to fine.
That's what I'm kind of looking at, Mr. Mayor.
And I think to Mike's point, with respect to streamlining, the city code as it exists right now includes a lot of steps that are not required by law. And so I think what I would recommend, and I think what Mike is recommending, is that we eliminate those unnecessary steps. That would, our code enforcement officer would still have the right to issue a warning citation. And I think under Mike's proposal, there's even a mechanism built in that would allow the city manager to extend the compliance deadline under certain circumstances. But this would eliminate all the unnecessary steps. We would be required by our ordinance only to follow kind of what is the bare minimum that's required by state law.
And that's what I would like to see.
And we've had so much luck with these violations up to now. We definitely need to do so. We ain't having no luck.
Right.
We're being ignored.
We're limited to repeat offenders 3 times per year, and that's general statute too.
Yep.
You can't change.
Yep. Well, so I think what I would suggest, here's what I would.
We're talking about, for Mike's suggestion, I didn't mean to interrupt you, Ken. Mike's suggestion is changing the steps that we do, is like warn, and this, and this, and this. We just go straight to it.
A notice of violation or a civil citation, or whatever we want.
But can we also excuse me, Mr. Mayor, can we also increase the fine?
Yeah, so what I would suggest.
Two-part.
If the board supports this, is that I would suggest that the board direct city staff to prepare a text amendment. I think the priority right now is probably the city code. There may be some things we can do to the CEO, although I think that is largely kind of almost copied and pasted from the general statutes. There's probably not a whole lot that we need to do to tweak that. But I would recommend that the board direct city staff to prepare a text amendment to the CEO, streamlining the code enforcement process and investigating the civil penalty amount that we're comfortable we could increase our civil penalties to without running into the Constitution.
Mayor, what he said.
All right, so we can bring this back up at our work session.
Yeah.
But let's see if we can't do a consensus now of exactly what direction. That way you and Mike or whoever can do some background checks or legwork for us, so we'll be better ready for the work session. So, a consensus is the same. It's just direct.
Okay. Good.
But this way we can do a consensus, and then once we get everything, we can do it as a motion.
Yes.
Mr. Albright?
Yes.
Oh, I didn't even get a chance to have my discussion. You didn't?
Well, I never saw the light pop on.
I pressed my light. City manager saw it.
Let him talk.
All right.
Go for it.
Mr. Wade, please
Mr.
interject.
Frangos, at our previous meeting, if you'll refresh my memory real quick, what did we increase the fines on?
We did increase it. It was the reinspection fee.
Right.
It was the
It wasn't this.
fee that we talked about.
And we increased those to be more in line with other
That's right.
jurisdictions.
That's right.
Okay. Thank you for refreshing my mind. Mr. Mayor, I am in consensus with my fellow board members.
All right.
I'm content.
All right. We got a consensus for y'all to proceed.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Let's make sure I don't have any other lights going off here. All right, we move to 11B, which is discussion on proposed Sanderford Street Farmers Market. City Manager.
Mr. Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem and Commissioners, at the April 2nd, 2024 regular legislative board meeting, Commissioner Kaczynski presented a request to the board to close Sanderford Street from the North Carolina State Employees Credit Union ATM west to the intersection of Elman every Saturday for the operation of a local farmers market. Following some in-depth discussion, Mayor Wheeler asked the city manager to look into the logistics of what would be required. So my update tonight back to the board is that Chief Willis and I have discussed this matter in great detail. Traffic control and barricades can be handled by the CREEDMOOR PD. The City Hall and Elm Street parking lot can accommodate The vendor and customer parking needs. The farmers market banners can easily be purchased by the city and placed on Sanderford Street near the intersections of Main and Elm. The city's liability insurance covers blanket coverage for all city-owned, rented, and leased properties. And the chief and I both agree that a representative from the city needs to draft rules, guidelines, and be involved overseeing this operation. And that's, that we've also talked about and have covered if the board decides to do this. If the operators of the American Legion are willing to merge to Sanderford Street location, this event can be a win-win for all vendors and patrons in that there is considerable more foot traffic in the Main Street Business District from Sanderford to Fleming, and the event can be started in the City Hall parking lot near Sanderford and moved into Sanderford as the operation grows with added vendors. So, we'll do whatever the board would like us to do. But that's the update I have back to the commissioners this evening.
Ms. Brogdon, do me a favor and, well, that's because I hadn't had a chance to get back down and talk to you, because I went, I think Saturday or Wednesday or something, y'all weren't up. Yeah, identify yourself for me just for the minutes.
I'm Deborah Brogdon. I live on Dove Road.
I had a conversation with you, just so the board is aware of what went on, concerning the differences, and that we wanted, since you had put so much effort into the CREEDMOOR Farmers Market, we didn't want it to do anything to jeopardize that. I was not aware that you were collecting fees down there. Could you explain to the board what those fees are for?
Yes, sir, like those two signs I just got put up.
Mm-hmm.
Got one on private property of the American Legion. And then I got one up on that black thing up next to the Dollar Tree, that everybody puts their signs up.
Mm-hmm.
And it just puts up there when I'm open and, you know, when we start and all that, and describe.
So the fees that you charge other vendors that come in there is to help pay for this?
For stuff like that. And the fee is not for $5 every time they set up.
Mm-hmm.
And they can't go to a farmer's market nowhere and be $5.
Well, actually, if we were to agree to do it here, there would be no charge.
Yeah, I understand that. I understand that well.
Okay, so you could use your signs and still participate here. In this one, and wouldn't have to pay any insurance, any additional fees for signage, because the city would, I'm sure, provide in some way a way sign or something to point out the farmer's market.
Sandwich boards. We do sandwich boards.
Mm-hmm. In order to benefit you, by doing it up here and being this close, you wouldn't have to worry about any issues with problems with other vendors, problems with rowdy customers or anything like that, because the police station would be right here beside you. So, my recommendation would be that you not allow, that's really not the term I want to use, but join with us in having this farmer's market up here where there's adequate parking, would be no fees, no insurance, and you would have the oversight of the CREEDMOOR Police Department to prevent any rowdiness that might go on.
All right, can I ask this? I hear y'all doing all this remodeling here, yonder, and everywhere. So part of this is going to be remodeled for our town hall somewhere or another. So that means it's going that way to be remodeled?
Just inside of the building.
Yeah. Now, there is some talk, there has been some discussion, and there still is, about rebuilding the police station, but that would go that way. That would.
Yes, sir.
And we still have Sanderford Street.
Yeah, and then there's Sanderford Street. So, in fact, if your farmer's market got so big that you really couldn't fit in this parking lot, then we would make arrangements during the times that you would be there to close down Sanderford Street so more vendors could get in there during that period of time. They'd still be able to park on Main Street are various areas, you know, we got several parking lots around, including a couple next to the drugstore, that people could park and walk. And that way, it would not only help you with the farmer's market, but it would also help the other businesses that are up here. They would attract businesses, people coming in for their business, which would come see you, and you would attract people to come see them. So it's a win-win situation for everybody.
Well, someone was gonna ask you, you were talking, and I don't forgot, no.
Well, that happens to me all the time.
All right, okay. But, I wondered, y'all had said, well, when I was talking to, Georgetta, that we couldn't have any, like, food trucks, and I don't mean food trucks that come rolling in and cook your stuff in front of you, I ain't talking about that. I'm talking like Sarah that sells with me icing on the cake. And now, she does well with us, and I don't think it's right that you're not going to include people like that.
I don't see where, I don't know that we have limited, have we done
I think she was talking about food trucks that roll up, I think.
Yeah, have we
I
done?
don't want them anyway.
No.
But we also don't want people to bring in homemade cooked food from their own kitchen.
Well, not cooked food.
No, that ain't gonna happen.
But baked cakes,
Yeah,
donuts,
because
that would be
our
allowed.
Main Street vendors have that stuff in our.
Well, they do, but, yeah, to me, this would be a farmer's market, which you kind of go in the same line as homemade goods, not foods, but homemade goods grown, yeah, produce, that type of thing. I know, Southern States parking lot allows the food trucks up in there and that type of thing. And I don't think we would need to have the same thing in this area here. Commissioner Wilkins.
Yeah, if I could put on my other hat for a minute. Is the produce sold by piece or weight on scale?
Do what now, sir?
Is it sold by piece or weighed on a scale?
Oh, my produce is sold, it's either by piece or by weight. Certain things, like my strawberries are in a container.
Right.
They're sold by piece.
Okay.
And then when you got cantaloupe watermelons, they're by piece.
Mm-hmm.
And corn, stuff like that. But when you have beans, you weigh them. So I have stuff that I weigh.
That's a separate side conversation, Mr. City Manager, we have to have. Thank you.
Mr. Albright.
So how many vendors do you usually have on a weekend?
There's usually 3 or 4.
Okay. How did you get to be the organizer or whatever?
I've been running a market in Creedmoor for 18 years. On private property. Because every time I asked for any help, Creedmoor had nowhere for Deborah to go. So only private property was a way that I could have a market. Now, Bobby, I'm not speaking over the line, I'm telling the truth.
I have not argued that with you a bit.
Okay. Because when I would come to them and ask about any spot, nowhere is where you can set up.
Well, I remember when we were originally talking about, where you were doing down at the parking lot for the community center. And we talked about, those of you who remember, we talked about designating a certain area of that parking lot for Deborah and our farmers market to be at, under some trees, adequate parking. But we have grown so quickly in there that if there's a function, every parking place is taken. And again, this process here would allow you to be in the middle of town, and with the little restaurants and drink places and clothing stores that we have here, the city would help you by having these businesses here drawing additional folks, and you would help these businesses by bringing folks in on your farmers market.
We're gonna be on the back side of Main Street?
Do what?
We're on the back side of Main Street.
We're on this side right here. In other words, right there, that parking lot next to the ATM, which is another point. Then if you have somebody coming, well, I'd like to buy this, but I don't have enough money. Well, there's an ATM machine right there.
Yeah.
I get to talking with my hands. Yeah, so we will, if we just, like I told you, probably most people understand the importance of your farmer's market is not only to you, but to Creedmoor. So I did not want to do anything that I felt would put you at a disadvantage. But the way I look at this is it would be an advantage to you.
Artie, y'all talking about doing it now?
Well, we've got some other stuff as far as what kind of produce, and we will include you in those discussions.
Oh, yeah.
As far as what can be sold, what can't be sold. We don't want to we want that to be able to be presented to anybody that puts a vendor out there that they know exactly, not one of these people roll in and say, well, I haven't seen anywhere where it says I can't do it. We want to draw up the rules first.
I had a paper that everybody signed, and it had on there that we follow North Carolina farmers market rules, which meant no live cats, no cooked foods, and now her making cakes and stuff's a different story. They're talking about home cooked food.
Right, setting up a grill or something, cooking right there.
All that kind of mess.
We should be able to get a hold of those rules too.
All you gotta do is.
I defer that to my other folks. All right, is there any other comments on this? We will get some more information together and discuss it at our work session. Until then, you're fine.
I'm gonna, talk to the ones that usually come and see what they say. I'm just thinking about my customers. I've got Roxborough, I got Raleigh, I've got Franklinton.
Right, and what you can do is just put up a simple sign saying, Farmers Market has moved to Main Street, Creedmoor.
We'll do that.
Yeah, we can.
I think so. Now, I need help with all like that kind. Y'all gotta help me push, because I promise you, I have pushed until I can't hold it.
Well, and another thing we can do too is, put this on our website.
Yes, somebody told me it wasn't even on the city website.
Well, we try not to advertise, other people's businesses on the website, but see, this would be a community benefit. In other words, they can't advertise the drugstore on the website.
Right. Let me ask you this. Well, if y'all gonna do all that, I paid for a sign on private property, and I do not believe that's right when I was told I couldn't use town property. And that's when I had to pay. But when I came up, I paid the $100 for a sign.
Well, that was to put it on private
property.
Which is...
Why did I have to do that?
Because that's the way the ordinance is written. In other words, if I put a sign in my yard, I'd have to...
But what I'm asking is he said I had to pay $100 to put it on town property. That's what I was told. Right, because I asked you.
Right, and see, it'd be $100 fee because it went on private property, but we can...
Could not let it be on public if it's not city sponsored.
Right.
So see, there you go again, city sponsored.
Well,
It's an ordinance, it's not a promise.
Yeah, but what I'm saying, if I'm gonna be city sponsored, help y'all gonna be having a market, am I gonna have a sign?
Well, I mean, it's, just like we do the music festival and all that other stuff.
I think there'll probably be a few signs.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd like to have help. I'm gonna do all this moving. Yeah, press your button.
I did.
And your light is blinking, Commissioner Way.
I learned a long time
I'll
ago.
let y'all all be mad.
Mother, may I?
Commissioner Way.
Ma'am, it's my understanding, and I would support 100%, if the city's going to put an effort into having a recognized farmer's market, there will be signage, there will be things on the internet, there will be a push from us on this board to bring community together for this farmer's market. And I think that is something that I can speak strongly to say that I think everybody will be pushing for that, to make it succeed.
That's all I've ever asked.
Because see, this not only benefits you, it benefits us.
I know, I'm not saying it's just.
Well, what we'd like to do, city manager just whispered in my ear, that, you, the police chief, and city manager would get together and work out, logistics for what we need to do on this. And then we'll bring it back up at our work session and see if we won't have everything ironed out at that time.
Well, I'm just gonna stay where I am and tell people it could be a possibility of we're gonna move up to
Sanderford.
City Hall.
Street.
Yeah, you can tell them it's just the backside of City Hall.
Start pulling some of that traffic from southern states when those people are going over to buy those plants.
They come to my house and buy plants too.
So are we good to progress with this as far as you're concerned?
Yes, sir, I'm willing to go if y'all are willing to really help.
Okay, well, city manager will get up with Chief Wheelis and they will get up in touch with you and set up a time y'all can meet and make sure everything's is agreeable to everybody involved.
All right, that's fine.
All right?
That'll be fine.
Thank you, ma'am.
All right, thank you, sir.
All right, city manager's report.
Mr. Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, and Commissioners, a couple of things I'd like to report on this evening. Spectrum fiber optics update. The construction crew was here today, meeting with Sarah to go over the demarcation or the lines where, the location where those lines are going to terminate in our electrical room and then traverse over to our server room to connect. So they're making the final measurements for that. The picnic tables have been ordered for the State Employees Credit Union ATM location that we have permission to use. I'm told by the Public Works just a couple of weeks out, we'll have those. You may have noticed the Main Street banners started being installed today. They'll continue that tomorrow and the next day if it takes more time. They arrived 2 weeks earlier than we had anticipated last week, so that was a nice surprise. We got them in last Friday. Public parking access and easement agreement revisions have been forwarded to Blake Bird on April 23rd for the Masonic Lodge Board of Trustees' second round of review. Still waiting to hear back from them. I recently declared 2 items of city property surplus. One was Officer Wilson's protective vest. These vests are made specifically for the officer. They don't fit anybody else, and when he left, the vest is of no use to us. So we were able to make arrangements with the Spring Hope Police Department where he's going to get $500 out of that vest for him to use where he's going. The other item was a Viper floor scrubber at the community center. That goes on Gov Deals for governmental auctioning. The contractor that we have now will be doing that floor scrubbing with a self-propelled unit instead of a force unit. It's really difficult to move around. Harris Park Community Board graphic designer, the one we had online has taken ill, and Dennis Mishaw is working with another contractor to continue that, get that product finished. VC3 Executive Summit we receive once a month now on April. Reported 19 incident work orders were opened and 20 were closed. There's some from previous that were hanging out there. Yeah, this is about a 15-page report, so I'm just extracting some specifics, but I could give you a whole lot more details if you'd like to see those. Attended CARTAR, 5-County Digital Inclusion Stakeholders Meeting at Granville County Expo Center on April 17th. The goal of this meeting was to hear from all the stakeholders on how we can best create a comprehensive and inclusive digital inclusion plan for our communities and CARTAR as a whole. And today, more good news. I received a notification from Ms. Danielle Hayes that the Granville County Board of Education last night voted to have the Mount Energy School annexed into City Hall. So that resolution was delivered today by hand by Bill Graham with the school system. So we'll figure out what's the next step is there.
And I've had a conversation with the city attorney as to what we need to do next. So we should know what we need to do by the work session.
That concludes my comments unless the board has questions.
I'm sorry, go ahead, speak up.
I was just gonna ask if you had any idea of a time period. That's kind of what our board was wondering, was what, I'm not asking for the specific process, just a guesstimate of how long that.
Well, our work session is what, in 2 weeks? Yes, sir.
Has an annexation petition been filed in the city? There's quite a bit of information that the city is required to verify under state law.
That's a resolution.
Right, that's a resolution petition in the city. There's,
So this is a request.
it's a request, but I wish that I would have been informed of this before now, because there's a statute that lists quite a bit of information that is required to be submitted on the petition. This is certainly sufficient, I think, in order to kind of as a statement of intent. Nobody's told me about this, nobody's asked me to weigh in on what needs to be submitted to the city, what's required from the Board of Education.
Kevin, I assume, maybe I shouldn't have done that the attorney with the school board would know which steps to follow, for them to follow coming our way.
Yeah, so what we'll do is we will put together a list of what information, if any additional information is not included in that resolution, and we'll let you know. I suspect we will, at the very least, need to call and hold a public hearing on the annexation. I think we can call the public hearing as a work session meeting, which would mean that I think that the city could likely then hold the public hearing at their first regular meeting, at their regular meeting in June. After that, as soon as the public hearing is closed, the city could vote to approve the annexation. Again, this is all kind of contingent on me confirming that all of the information the city needs has already been submitted and that is present in the resolution. If that is not sufficient, I will let Mike know, Mike can let y'all know what else we need. And I think as long as the school board could get us that information by this month's work session meeting, that we should be able to have everything in place to hold a public hearing at the beginning of June and hopefully have a decision for you about a month from now.
Go ahead.
As long as we feel like we could get everything accomplished by the next school year, which starts on August 12th.
Oh, yeah.
We are not in a rush.
Yeah.
The conversation started. We were making sure we were all on the same page.
Who is the attorney for the school board?
That is Eva Dudison with,
Anyway, if you could get in touch with her or her and with him, that probably be better than you and me and him and back to you and all that stuff.
That fixes our conversation we had, Chief.
Commissioner Kaczynski.
So, Mike brought us, a request for annexation some months back, that somebody was building a house and they were annexing to the city. What is the difference here? Why, we didn't have to have a public hearing on that.
If the city did not hold a public hearing, then something went terribly wrong on any of it.
But nobody came.
Well, nobody came, yeah.
So I opened it, nobody came, I closed it.
There has to be a newspaper ad.
Right, there's gotta be the appropriate public, that's my concern, is that the timing, we're gonna have to make sure that we have, the bottom line is that there's a state statute that says, an applicant for annexation needs to submit and be able to certify certain things about their property. And that the city needs to be able to confirm those things. I think there's a section that requires the city clerk to make an investigation. We then, assuming we can, and I see no reason why we shouldn't be able to, that we can confirm all that required information is accurate and has been submitted. Then we're gonna have to notice a public hearing. And finally, the question is, are we gonna have time to submit a timely notice within the required, the statutory time frame to notice a public hearing in order to hold that hearing at our January or at our June regular meeting.
So will you be able to get your part done before this? I mean.
Well, it's not only up to me.
No, I know it's not only up to you, but this is, apparently there's an urgency with this. We gotta get it done by August. So we can't wait a month and a half before we get an answer to go forward for a public hearing, so that's why I'm asking.
And that's why I'm saying, just get.
Right, I have no problem. Again, I think there have been a little bit more coordination ahead of time, I could have had on these questions answered. I have no reason, there's no reason why I can't tomorrow figure out whether this resolution contains the necessary information and whether or not, and if it doesn't, what else we need to know. The question will then become, if there's more information we need to know, how long is it going to take us to get that? How long is it going to take city staff to confirm this? You know, assuming that that can all be done quickly, there's no reason why we can't get this done before, the August.
So you weren't at the strategic planning session with us?
No.
Because that's where it came up first, so we're talking it came up all the way back to January.
Contact your attorney and let them know, either reach out to him or he'll reach out to them, yeah. We'll have coffee or lunch. Yeah. All right, let's move on. Number 13, Sigwas report. Okay, that one's clear. Commissioner reports. Commissioner Gleason.
I, attended 2 or 3 different meetings in City Hall regarding meet some new candidates to talk about something that was, kind of a sticking point, which was, just happens to be about annexation. And excuse my ignorance, but is that bill been brought to the floor? Has it started, or is it still waiting to be?
City Manager.
I was told it was going on the floor this morning, but I have not gotten an update from Representative Winslow's office.
So again, it started out, I just want to make sure that I'm on the record that when this thing started, again, I want to close donut holes. And I spoke, and I think one of our other commissioners spoke, that we didn't want to punish residents who are senior citizens who owned a house for years, and now all of a sudden this year are going to have to pay $1,500 more than they had to pay for the rest of their whole living in CREEDMOOR. But again, when the consensus, and there never was a vote, there was a consensus that we wanted to close donut holes. And the way to do it was through state legislation. At the end of that legislation, there was some additions added to it 3 days before it was going to be, and again, I voiced my disapproval of it, as did, I think, a consensus of the board. So again, I still am concerned about the people that are going to be maybe put in harm's way because of the cost of this. Again, I have no idea. But I may be wrong, and Mr. Francos can steer me in the right direction. But if we annex the school, won't we be creating a donut hole?
No, it's on the edge.
So the property on 56 goes all the way to the school? Or halfway?
There are donut holes in between, but yeah, annexing Mount Energy School is simply on the edge of our existing.
But there's no contiguous city property connected to it, correct?
Yes, there is actually. There is a vacant tract right next door. Yep. That is inside the property.
Okay, that's fine. Good answer.
Okay.
I'm done.
You are. City, Mayor Pro Tem.
I attended, City Vision in Winston-Salem for 3 days with the mayor, and it was wonderful and eye-opening, and a lot of good information came out of that. We got to see their public safety center, which was mind-blowing. I know that CREEDMOOR is a lot smaller than Winston-Salem, but it was extremely impressive. I would like to thank the city manager and the public works director and his staff for getting the new city banners up so quickly. It was quite a great surprise coming down the street tonight and seeing the pretty colors. And I'd like to remind everybody that the veterans banners are still for sale. If you ordered them tomorrow, we're not going to get them up in time for Memorial Day. I believe that the turnaround time is going to be longer than that, but we might be able to get them up for the 4th of July. I attended the ROTC Awards the other night at South Granville High School with Mr. Danny Emery from the Veterans Organization, and I had purchased a wooden American flag sculpture, and Mr. Emery had has made up some Creedmoor Veterans Organization challenge coins, and we presented them to Command Sergeant Major White as a thank you for the program that he's done, and the amount of cadets in that program was overwhelming to me, that there are so many. That program used to be so small, and now it is so big, and I'm so proud of the work that he's accomplished and all the students that are involved in that. I'm going to remind everybody that we just approved the minutes from our meeting where we unanimously agreed to send a letter to the legislature on this donut hole closure annexation. And I met with two of the Republican and the Democratic candidate for Mary Wells Bodie's seat, since she's not running. We met them here at City Hall, and they were both very, very nice and concerned about what they could do for the city of Creedmoor and Granville County, and both seemed to be very interested in trying to help us. I also got the pleasure of having lunch and meeting Brad Knott yesterday, and expressed to him that the city of Creedmoor had, and I don't speak for Granville County, but the city of Creedmoor and Granville County has not had the relationship with legislators that we have had in the past 4 years, and we're very proud of that, and we're hoping whoever gets elected continues to do that, and we're very grateful for the money that they have shared. I want to thank Sarah for the proclamation that surprised our clerk tonight. It was Sarah, Barbara, it was Sarah, Sarah did it. And I want to thank Camille for her hard work on these new policies. When we went to City Vision, as we walked from vendor table to vendor table, the mayor and I both heard glowing praise for Steve Edwards, Lee Faines, and Camille, because of your communication yours with Gov Deals, yours with Mosca, and Lee, I can't remember the name of the company, but it's a financial institution, and they knew you right off the bat, and the mayor and I were very proud to hear our staff names come up. And of course, Chief Wheelis, we hear about you everywhere we go, and it's always good. I want to thank you for putting the radar sign down on 50. The people that were complaining about the speeding, they've seen the difference, as Mr. Curran said tonight. And I just love our staff. I love all our employees, and don't any of you ever leave. You're here until you retire.
Thank you, ma'am. Commissioner Wilkins.
On Thursday evening, April 25th, I attended and participated in the Creedmoor Community Graduation of First Baptist Church here in Creedmoor. And on Saturday, April 27th, I attended the Falls Lake Senior Capstone presentation at Falls Lakes High School. And that is all I have, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner Way.
I have nothing to add this evening, sir.
Commissioner Albright.
I was supposed to have a Greenways meeting. Commissioner Wilkins and I go together, and it was canceled for this coming Thursday. They didn't have anything to talk about, so we didn't have to attend that. I did attend the CPRC meeting last month, and we do have a new fitness schedule down at the community center, so you want to look for that on your calendars. And tonight, I guess it was today and tomorrow, is the Dusty's All-Star Circus. So go ahead and visit that if you'd like to do that. Right. And we did talk to Dennis about the field was looking a little dreary. So the gentleman that did the field the original, like, when he turned it all up and planted the seed and all that stuff, he was gonna contact him and see what we could do about it, because he said it was in dire need of some rain, and we've had rain, and it doesn't seem to be turning green. It's half round. Steve knows that, because Steve did a nice good job on it, but,
We have a sprinkler system on that field that we paid for.
we do have a sprinkler system.
And we're not paying them.
And I don't think, have we used it at all, Steve? We have used it, but it's not getting any better.
I can't speak to it. I'm not gonna speak to that. I mean, I'm not sure.
Okay, all right,
I'm just assist Dennis on that.
okay.
He said that, I'm not sure where he's at with that project. I know what he put on it, but I'm not sure what the next step is. What I'm trying to say.
Okay, all right.
If I may add to that, I
Yes,
talked to
sir.
Dennis about that as well. He has spoken to the Cooperative Extension Office, that oversees turf grass and that kind of stuff. He's also talked to State College about it. We were waiting to see if the grass was gonna come around. They have been watering it. It's not performing as we wanted it to. You remember we got a heavy rain when it first got seeded? So they went back and aerated and reseeded it, but, Dennis is thinking what we need to do now, and he's got turf grass experience and certification, is to go back in and hit it and reseed it. He sprayed some pre-emergence to kill everything out there, because the Bermuda was out of season. You could spray and kill everything, weeds and all, and then this would come back. So now it looks like we're going to have to reseed it. That's his plan.
Thank you, ma'am.
He told us he was in charge, and that's what he was gonna do, so I thank you.
All right, let's see, mayor's report, attended the Carter Council of Government Stakeholders Meeting with the city manager, attended City Vision Winston-Salem with the mayor pro tem for 3 days, and it definitely was worth the time and the money. Attended the opioid abuse committee where I'm the pharmacy representative on that. Yesterday was the Triangle Volunteer Appreciation Awards, which April Schaefer was given a certificate as award appreciation. Falls Lake Academy Baccalaureate, I attended last night in the rain. I was the only mayor in the county that showed up. I thought I'd mention that even the mayor for the Butner area wasn't there. Let's see, I attended the South Granville softball alumni game. They kept wanting the alumni to come out, and I kept telling them that I was an alumni of South Granville, and they kept pushing me out of the picture. So finally, they let me stand at home plate and shake hands. And also for about 15 minutes, I attended Dusty's Circus tonight, and I do highly recommend what I saw. It's really a very good thing to attend, and I want to congratulate Commissioner Albright on her nail color.
I got one item. You on the House bill, yeah.
Okay. All right, city manager has an update.
Commissioner Gleason asked, has the bill been filed yet? I just got a text from, Representative Winslow. It was filed today, and it's been filed on the floor, so it's going to go before 2 committees before it comes back to the floor for a vote. So that's an update. It has been filed today.
All right, let's see, that's there, no closed sessions. Have we got anything else that needs to come before the board? Not hearing any, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
That was in unison.
I'm gonna go with the mayor pro tem on this one. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion carries 5-0. We are adjourned. Danielle, can I see you before you leave? Good night.
I mean, some of it.
Put mine next to a depot. Good night. Did you get everything that Depot said in the minutes?
I hope Barbie did.
I got it.
How you got it?
I know what it's saying.
Yeah.
Bye-bye, thank you.
You wanna know why all the police officers up that car? Yeah, hey Russ, thank you, sir.
Yeah.
You see it?
Hey, come back.
Russ,
Hang around just a little bit. Oh, you too. He said that it was too busy up here to get park, and the police officers don't smile.
And where was, the parking lot was full of police cars?
There's no way you got CREEDMOOR when the parking lot was full of police.
No.
No way.
Full.
Unless the chief had a conference with every police station in
Yeah.
town and around.
We had a party.
He showed up to a meeting that was canceled because he won't read his email.
Yeah, I thought he was coming to talk about something he never said a word about.
I thought that's what he was gonna talk about, but maybe
He wasn't
Like
getting
what
his email.
about his email? Hey, don't get your thing, brother.
One more quick call.
What did I forget?
Your cane.
Oh,
Mind the wallet?
I can walk without it. I just walk faster with it.
I think that the first step might be.
And she didn't say a damn word about the $40.
Yes, she is.
She didn't mention that at all.
That's what you need. This is good.
Well, I've got, where she responded to her mother.
I think you did well.
Now, everybody from high, but I think I'm just missing something here. No, he felt like it was very inspirational.
They spent the entire day.
In general, life is good.
Of the things that they were about to think. So it wasn't just about safety, they were education as well. And they allowed the students to like ask questions and to like give their opinions on the things.
It's one of those things, to me, it was supported